Something like that. Well, good morning and welcome to Doppler's Gear Garage. Let me switch cameras here real quick. And welcome. If we haven't met, my name is Doug, and I'm on my A camera. And, well, this is Doppler's Gear Garage, and thank you so much for joining me on this Saturday morning. Say hello to my little friend. Oh, wait, I gotta meet. So that obviously is the brand new Mark II C Plus reissue from the good people at Mesa Boogie, and I've been spending a bunch of time with this amplifier, and it is awesome. Got a couple little clips of some different tones that I had dialed up, and we're also going to be talking about developing your ear today, and tomorrow, hopefully. But the idea, a lot of players have a challenge hearing something, kind of knowing whether it's something that's in their head, or hearing some piece of music and knowing how to bring it down into some sort of way of approaching it with a fingering, recognizing a voicing of a chord, recognizing a melodic structure, and we're going to spend some time talking about that with the minor pentatonic scale. Now, while I'm saying all of that, I'm going to be saying hello to my buddy Zach. What's going on? Good morning. Venice, California. Hello. Not quite ready to raise him up yet, but first coffee. Good morning to you. And anybody else that's new here, don't be bashful. Jump into the chat. We, more or less, as long as it's within reason, talk about anything, especially guitars and guitar gear. So first of all, it is really been an interesting thing hanging out with this amplifier. I am a bit of a Mesa Boogie fanatic, in case you hadn't noticed. Eric Martin Bureau, what's going on, my friend? Great to see you as always. Look at that very cute little photo. So I had a feeling I might be hearing from you, So yeah, it's flippin' sick amplifier. Holy cow. The crazy thing is that it does some really pretty clean things as well. Good morning, Eric. Hang on a second. The other Eric, good to see you. And Zach, if I didn't actually pull you in, let me go ahead and pull you in with that lovely Les Paul there. Wait a second. What is with the volume and the tone there? What is going on there? Interesting. Yes, bring on the low tuning. Awesome. And Eric, boy, it's the Erics this morning. I love that. So, Eric, this Eric, in case you didn't know, speaking of another student, hello, Paul. Good to see you, my friend. So Eric I have a number of favorite students because they're all kind of favorite to me. But the great thing that I love about Eric's lessons, he's always asking me, to kind of bring it back to the basics, because I love to kind of drill down deep. But basics are important. Good morning, John. Nice photo. Hello. And so the thing is that we've been working on kind of this ear training thing because in particular, Eric has a passion for being able to kind of go, how do we take something that we're hearing and be able to bring it to the fingerboard? So, that's actually really important. Awesome. Come on. Today. Yes. So the funny thing is, all right, so we are going to, I have to just say, we're going to geek out a little bit on the Mesa Boogie side of things before we get to the teaching thing. So the funny thing is that I knew this amp was coming. It showed up on Wednesday, and I went through all sorts of preparation. I had the neighbor come over and watch the house. My wife, Melissa, had a work event, and I was very happily helping her out. But as soon as I saw Steve Book, what's going on, my man? Excellent. And you will make it sound great. Great to see you, my friend. Looking sharp. That's looking very Gibson of you, my friend. And so, I got the neighbor to come over because with FedEx or UPS, if they say they're coming at one time, they actually often don't come at that window. They actually did come within the window, but I was absolutely panic-stricken that it was going to come and either get left at some point that I wasn't here and porch pirates make off with it, or something. So I had the neighbor come in and watch. Then I came back and you know and I got a chance to watch the UPS truck. Actually, it was in front of the neighbor's house, and I started to go outside, and they were facing kind of in the other direction, and then they left. I was like, no, you know. So 2 hours later, I heard it come up the hill, and I'm like, I have never been more excited about a piece of gear in my life. I was like a little girl, like with a new pony or something. Truth be told, but the thing is I actually got a photo of the UPS driver, you know, bringing it out of the truck. That's how excited I was. And it's, you know, it's a, actually I'm going to switch ends of cables here. So I'm poking myself in the leg here. But, you know, it's such a special amp. For those of us that are boogie fanatics, it's an important moment in history because it was such an important amp. And, you know, one of my favorite things, is, hang on a second, let me say hello to James. Good morning to you. And I will do my best to stay on top of the comments here. So, the good news is that I have managed to sequester myself with the Boogie Board and the Mesa Boogie Facebook group, and people have been exceptionally cool. That said, I'm not going to get into any of the politics of it because, truth be told, I'm a Gibson and Mesa Boogie endorser. So I have to be a little bit conscious of what I do wade into and what I don't touch, because lots of reasons. And the other thing is to hopefully be a voice of positivity in the midst of all the people that just like, you know, for all the people that are so excited. What's going on, John, my friend? Great to see you. Hello, hello, hello. Did you sell the Les Paul, by the way? Some people just got to, can I say, pull their little pee-pee out and piss on people's feet? Like, people seem to get off on doing that. And it seemed to get a little worse during COVID. So some people came out of COVID and they were like, you know, Rumpelstiltskin kind of woke up, you know, from being underneath the tree, and they figured they were going to be extra grumpy. I don't get it, but who am I to judge, right? So that said, I've been amazed at the amount of positivity and the excitement around this amp. And you know, the funny thing is I kind of hang out in a bunch of different groups. And do me a favor, light up the chat here. How many Metallica fans are there out there, right? So there are a couple of different... not if you want me sleeping on your couch. Oh, my word. So... Well, well, you clearly have been reading some of the stuff that I've seen, but generally speaking, you know, so there are way too many haters out there. Metallica, come on, raise it up. Come on, there we go. So you can't. Well, actually, there is the Mark 7, and there is the JP2C, and there's what are you, the Mark 525. And the great thing about these amps, hey Steve, what's going on, my man? Always a pleasure. Great to see you. Look at that. That's a funny looking bass you're playing there, buddy. So the interesting thing about this amplifier, so down here is my OG HRG Mark II C+. And truth be told, because I didn't really post this anywhere, but I'll share it here. The only thing I've ever really done with that amp is, which it just does obscenely well. But this one, an HRG, stands for basically the 6100 option, which essentially is a Class AB version of the amplifier. And there was another version, which was the DRG, which I don't know what the D stands for, literally, other than the DRGs are the ones that were simulclass, Class A, B, and Class A, and then in theory had reverb and graphic EQ, although those were kind of the things that were kind of the primary options you could get on them. So this amp is basically the basis of the JP2C, and the interesting thing about this, and you know, I've had, thankfully, Mark 7, come on, you know, I love them all, and they're all very unique. The thing about this and both these amps is that I had an experience. I'll share the experience because I always love kind of having the opportunity to go, you know, the edge of almost epic fails, right? So I was out at Sweetwater. I had a company called Gear Tunes. We did this thing called Guitars and Gear Live. And it was me, and it was John from Premier Guitar, and it was Mitch from Sweetwater. And it was supposed to live stream. There was a glitch, and something happened, and the live stream didn't go out. But it was available on replay, and I did a thing on, or I should say, the videos got segmented out, and I did a thing on the Majesty, and that video. Back in the day, my videos got a lot of play. So that thing got like 100,000 views because people were super excited about that. But I was at Sweetwater, so I was like, hey, can you get me a Mark V? Because at that point, the JP2C did not yet exist. And, I grew up playing a Mark IIB. I got that amp approximately 1981, perhaps before you were born. And so I knew that amplifier, but you all of a sudden get in front of a Mark V, and it was basically... They kind of brought it out about 5 o'clock, and I was with that thing pretty much all night. And finally, I kind of got a tone that was workable. Not that the amp was the problem. I was the problem, because there's some very unique things about how to set these guys that if you don't know, you don't know. And so basically what I'm in the midst of doing, you know what? I'm going to jump to a clip here real quick. Let's go for something real pretty. Let me just shut up and, well, here we go. So kind of every time I hear that, I'm like, really? Because we know this amp. What's going on, Mike? Good to see you. Like that photo. I like everybody's photo, but okay, hang on. I can't actually, and if you're on an iPhone, so let me read that out loud. Hey, Doug, or hi, Doug. To my ear, Mesa tone is unmistakable. True that. I hear so many similarities between all my Mesas that buying this new one, already having a Triaxis 290, I'll be right over JP2C and Mark 7. This would be merely a trophy. So here's what I will say to that, most respectfully, because backing up to what I started to go to, and I thought, let me just pull up a clip. I think one of the neat things about that experience with the Mark V was I was like, oh my word, I'm pretty good with dialing in a tone. I was like, I couldn't figure out doing the stuff that I normally do with amps, kind of how to dial it in. It was because of the complexity of the way the circuit works. However, at one of the JPGU, John Petrucci's Guitar Universe camps, John literally spent a section, and I asked somebody for a copy of it, and I never got it, but John was talking about how he dials in his tone, starting with the amp. And so, but I was able to watch that, and I also had the privilege of being able to interview John and Maddie about the JP2C112 combo, and we actually did a series of videos, which you probably knew. But the point being is that one of the things that John talked about was that the sweet spot on the preamp control, the volume 1, is between 7 and 8, somewhere around 7 1/4, give or take. So like there are little spots that are the perfect spot, but you've got to kind of know that, and that's from years of tinkering. So to your point, Mike, there are various push-pulls on this guy that on the JP2C, we had the benefit of John having all those years of experience and going, that's where that needs to be. That's where this gain needs to be. And one of my favorite features on that is the push-pull function on, I guess that's more of a pull-push, but in any case, on the channel 2 and channel 3 for the high gain tones. And the fact that you've got two different frequencies. And the funny thing is I'm becoming I've always been a little wary of too much presence, but with these amps, one of the things that I'm learning is just like setting the presence higher than I normally would on any other amp. You do that on a Marshall, and it'll take your flipping head off. However, that's part of the magic of of the circuit. Okay, hang on. Oh, come on. Rub it in. I'm definitely a Mesa nerd. I have a 92 Rev F with the Mark III transformers, 94 Tremoverb, a 94 Road King, a Mark IV Early B, and the Recto preamp and a 2100 power amp. So I'm excited to add the 2C Plus reissue. Yes. All right. So, and Mike, I'm not being disagreeable, so let me be really clear about this. I think, for those who want to get in and totally tweak and just kind of have at it, this allows you to do whatever you want to do. The thing about the JP2C, what's going on, Eddie? How you doing? Hey, what's going on, Kareem? Great to see you. So the funny thing is that what I haven't yet gotten to is a Telecaster with that. I was in the middle of doing pre-production for a Badlander video, and there's Tele stuff in there. I might even have no. I've just got audio for that, but I hadn't thought Tele, because for one, there was this guy Prince who used the 300 series the Mark II C Plus back in the day. But the thing is that what I hadn't done was Tele Jangle, kind of the Americana thing, if you will. And I've got a little time today, so let me chew that over. No promises. However, let me. I'm going to grab that in a sec, but let me finish this little part of the conversation. So one of the great things about the JP2C and the Mark VII is the number of those kind of push-pull things and where things are preset were preset by people who really know these amps and arguably allow you to not have to kind of have some of the 2 days ago, if you get tired enough and you sit there with an amp too long, you kind of start to kind of lose focus. And I needed a moment just to kind of go, okay, let me just take myself to bed. And I got up the next morning and I was like, okay. And, all these different things came up, but you have to kind of be willing to understand, like, okay, let me go through the manual. And basically what I did was I just turned everything off. And I just slowly went, okay, let me find out what every one of these did. And that clean clip there was a result of actually just taking literally volume 1 and turning it all the way up, and taking the master volume and turning all the way down and easing up and kind of going, let me understand what the circuit does there. And in turn, the other thing that I did was I turned the mid-range, because let's see what happens. And I just was sweeping the mid-range control. I turned it all the way up to 10. And I'm like, I would never think of doing it. And it sounded great. So the point being is, for those of you that are going to get these or just kind of curious, with any amp, I think my biggest lesson, if you wanted a lesson in tone, is dial with your fingers and not with your eyes. And I know that sounds like a really stupid thing to say, but that's been my story. Mark, what's going on? Strat man, love that. Chris Barkley, how are you, man? Oh, that's great. You're looking sharp there. And by the way, I saw that gun photo. Hold on. There we go. But I don't look like you do. So props, dude. You're obviously working it and shredding away, no less. All right. Speaking of shredding, hang on a second. What's the other clip? Oh, so I'm going to go in another direction here. This is one of the other things that this thing does that I just love. Here we go. What an amp. So the neat thing about having all the stuff that's, kind of preset on the other amps, which is one of the things I love about the other amps, is just kind of like it's really easy to go there. I didn't finish the presence idea. So the dual presence on the JP2C on channels 2 and channel 3 Uh, Normally, presence is a control. I've kind of like, because of the amount of time I spent playing Marshalls, too much to just take it. It'll take people's heads off. But with the boogies, you actually kind of need to use a healthy dose of that. And a short version is the more you turn up the preamp volume in high gain modes, the less the tone controls actually do really a whole bunch of anything, which is where this pull bright and this pull deep really allow you to amend the circuit a little bit further down in the signals. And I'm pretty sure this guy is further down the line. I'll need to double check that. But the presence control is in the power amp section, so that allows you to kind of attenuate after all the stuff that's happening, because the more you turn up the gain, the less the tone controls, the tone stack actually does. So being able to just bring in that presence at the end of the circuit really, really helps in the power amp section. The JP2C's got this pull push knob that toggles between two different presence frequencies. And per that little video series, John and Maddie talked about the fact that they got one of the prototypes and they're like, it doesn't sound like it's on the same frequency as the other one. And they were like, and we kind of like it. And they got on the phone. It's like, can we have both? And the funny thing is the one sitting in the room, the out one is a slightly higher frequency. And normally with presence, you're like, but when you're in the framework of a mix, especially with something as dense as Dream Theater's music, that little extra little thing allows your guitar to kind of poke up above the mix in a really powerful way. And it's one of the things that, sitting in the room with the tone, I wouldn't have been inclined to use it there, but at one point I kind of pulled up some tracks and had a mix going and kind of went, I don't know, let me try it. I was like, there's my guitar. Those guys know a thing or two about a thing or two, and in many ways, while some folks will appreciate the JP2C and the Mark VII, take a bunch of the rocket science out of the equation. That rocket science was done by rocket scientists, so there's lots of good reason to go that way. The other thing about this guy is that as you kind of get in there, kind of get a chance to kind of go, I get a chance to learn the things that those guys learned on these amps. And I've had this guy probably 5 years, but I haven't spent that much time playing it, honestly, because there's a bunch of other amps that are here, and I've only gone chugga 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 chugga, of which it does great. So I've never really got to know the clean channel there. There's an amp up top there that I don't think we're going to be able to see. Let's get over here. Yeah, there it is. That guy, I can never get, is a Mark IIB. It's actually not my amp. It's on loan from a gear lending buddy of mine. But that has one of the best clean sounds ever. So as I kind of came over to the Mark IIc Plus, I was like, oh, right. Well, let me check out the cleans. And they're just beautiful. And then the other thing is the Class AB, Class A variation. There's a switch on the back that allows you to toggle between the different classes. And the Class A, for those of you that haven't spent time doing this, what's really neat in the boogie amplifiers in particular, some Strats, well, again, let's make our analogy of a Strat plugged straight into a Marshall with the presence up. You're like, little pokey. What's neat about the Class A mode is that things get a little bit softer around the edges. And in particular, I sometimes find that Strats, think about plugging a Strat into a twin reverb and turning the treble up. That thing existed before boogie. And because in many ways, these are inspired by the things that Fender did, and then Randy took and built upon in a powerful way, you then begin to kind of go, okay. And so what's neat about the class, because if you think about a silver face 70s twin reverb, bright as all get out, and so the idea of being able to tame that. Okay, in any case, I am slightly rabbit trailing here, but it's important because invariably there's going to probably be a couple of people out there that are thinking about all of this and so on and so forth. So this is one of the other things about kind of vintage Marshalls. First of all, there was the Variac. But there was also, Eddie's hands. You could plug him in. There's a video of him backstage playing through like a little Fender practice amp It's about that big, and it just sounds like Eddie. There's a video of Eddie playing a Strat, and he sounds just like Eddie. You're kind of like, got it. He just sounds the way he does. However, one of the famous things about a Marshall, traditionally at the end of the show, the guitar player's had a couple, just rolls his arm across the controls there, and everything dimed, and they work really well like that. With great pleasure, there. One of the videos that I'm going to do, I'm going to either do 2 or 3 videos in the series that on this guy is going to be specifically talking about how to dial in some different tones, because the day that I took myself to bed, I honestly left really frustrated because I was like, I couldn't quite get there, if I were going to be totally honest. And I'm not saying that for any fault of the amp. But then, actually at about 12:30 a.m. yesterday, I'm lying in bed. I'm like, I've printed out the manual, and Melissa can hear the pages rustling to the side of the bed. She was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "It's a manual." And I lay there for about another hour, and finally I was like, "All right, I'm getting up." So basically, I was down here from about 1:30 yesterday morning until about 1 last night, having at it. But the great thing is having that amount of time to just kind of go, okay, let me just turn everything off and begin to turn it on, learn a bunch of stuff. It's also, the graphic EQ is a very special thing. So, John, the pleasure and the responsibility of being able to help other people out in their tone quest, to quote John Petrucci, tone quest, is one of my favorite things, and it's so cool because we get to geek out. So you're most certainly welcome. All right, Luis Olvera, come on. So a couple of things about all of that. Number one, hang on. Let me explain what I'm going to do. So the graphic EQ in auto mode, because the funny thing is I'm looking at this amp, like I literally have spent like an embarrassingly small amount of time with this amp. Simply because I knew when the time came and I needed to, I could. But this little EQ auto is like, the heck is that? So basically what it means is when you switch from the clean channel to the dirty channel, and this one has it as well, the EQ automatically turns on when you go to your lead channel. I'm like, that's kind of crafty because that's the one that actually needs the most refining. What I'm going to do though, however, and this gets to the 60 watt, and anybody, so Lewis, I'm kind of curious, does yours have the graphic EQ? Let me know. And I'm seeing some, I'm getting behind in the comments here, my bad. I'll catch up, I promise. Mike Rand, good morning. Charles, good morning. Give me a sec. Brett, good morning, my man. Yes. Okay, hang on. Let me scroll. James, good morning. Patricio, hello. Buenos dias and Buenos Aires. Okay. So what I'm going to do is first of all, if I were to go out and buy an original Mark II C Plus, and I found one that was either a 60 or 100 and didn't have the graphic EQ, up above there, you'll see 2 of the kind of standalone graphic equalizers. I would buy one of those and probably save a little bit of money. There's various people kind of wondering, are these guys going to go further through the roof, or is the presence of the reissue going to make it such that they don't keep climbing as they were? The number that I read was that there were approximately 4,000. I need to verify that, but that was a number that I read of the original Mark II C Plus. What I don't know is how many of them were the HRGs versus the DRGs. All right, per the whole graphic EQ thing, kind of a happy accident happened. Is like I pushed through a couple little what I called micro demos, and it wasn't until I came back to the amp and I kind of went, I didn't have the graphic EQ on. I was like, I dialed it in somewhere in the midst of backing up a step. And it says this in the manual. Half the people out there read every page in the manual, wake up in the middle of the night, and then there's other folks that's like, just take me to the amp. Just like the manual is a vital part of this thing for me. The idea, though, that it says, keep the graphic EQ off while you're dialing in your tones. So that's what I did, and then kind of I thought I'd turn the graphic EQ back on, and I hadn't. So let me turn my mic off. Hopefully I'll remember to turn it back on. And I'm going to start off with the graphic cue off. And it's going to be a little different. Here we go. And then you'll hear me flip it. And I remember to turn the mic back on. All right. So yeah, these strings can be a little, but sorry if I blew somebody's ears out there. So and I kind of, obviously I've got the kind of the classic. That's kind of funny. This is like the Boogie V. Sorry, I entertain myself all the time. I spend a lot of time in this room, so I'm the entertainment, like it or not. All right. Okay. So, John, to your point, sooner than later, this video, I'm going to finish the video today, and then one. I don't know whether there's going to be 2 videos or 3, but in the second or the third one, there's going to be specifically talking through. Here's some tones, and here's some suggestions around dialing this thing in. A lot of people will not spend time on the Class A option and will miss some of the things about the amp. And there are great tones. I could actually dial it in a little bit more. You don't always need the graphic EQ. So all right, Lewis, I don't think my 60 watt. So the point about the 60 watt, you don't really need 100 watts if you've got an amp that you sound, it sounds the way you want. But if I were looking at a new Mesa, I'll probably lean toward a Mark 7 over the or the 2C Plus reissue, although I still miss the ease of dialing in, dialing that was with my Mark 7 thoughts. So it's a really great question. So part of what the kind of dialing in the tones thing is going to be about, like, what is, and by the way, there's a separate video is going to be which of the boogies is going to be the best one for you, because there's kind of already a conversation happening about that, because as you look at the Mark 7, as you look at the JP2C, and you look at the Mark 2C Plus, there are nuances about all of them. And the short version is that if you want a tone tweak, but if you just kind of want to plug in and have that, first of all, the JP2C has a very tight clean channel. The clean channel, by John's design, does not really give up the ghost unless you turn up the gain control. And then it starts to soften up, because you're basically you're distorting it, not in the power amp section, but in the preamp section. And I should say you're distorting it from the preamp section, and that way you're getting the thing to kind of start to squish a little bit. John's approach most of the time, if you listen to his clean tone, he's pretty much almost always got a compressor on, which is one of the other ways that you can kind of get there. So that is to say, the JP2C, I would have to say, if you were to ask me which is my favorite, the Badlander has kind of become my personal thing, because I found about a bunch of things that are, for me, kind of, if you will, trying to develop a signature guitar sound. Badlander, and there was a question, I think, Eric, you asked about kind of like the difference between the Mark 7 and the rectifier. I'm going to come back to that, but mental note. So, in fact, not just a mental note. How about a note? Mark versus Recto. All right. So to answer your question, Lewis, about this is like, hey, I'd say the JP2C is kind of my favorite, just because the lead sound on that is just, if you just want to kick people in the balls with a high gain tone, anybody within the path of that amplifier is going to hear every note you play, not a doubt in the room. I like the clean sounds on the Mark 7 better. I like the clean sounds on this better, but simply because John, in the framework of Dream Theater and by his absolute own design and purposefulness, did not use the simulclass version. The Class A will give up the ghost. So the two outer tubes on the Mark II C pluses that were the simulclass, and the reissue is one of those are always running in Class A power. And so because of that, they have a tendency to add a little bit more squish. There was a word that somebody on the boogie board used that I'm not going to remember what it was, but it was really one of the words that is sometimes used is a little bit more liquid. However, if you're, and ironically, I was surprised to find out that the Metallica guys actually use the simulclass and not the Class AB, because the Class AB ones are actually a stiffer bottom end. They really like they're just like, nothing is going to get in your way. You're just going to blow it out. And that's one of the things about the JP2C. It's whole kind of like, I'm here. There's just no denying that, and kind of the way I run that, as long as we're going to tweak on this for a minute. This is my Seymour Duncan Power Stage 700 power amp. Basically, it's one or both of those cabinets coming out of the slave out on the JP2C, going out into that, into the Cab Clone IR. Cab Clone IR going into the Axe Effects that's off down there. And that's in turn running into the power amp. And I got 350 watts per side, usually going into both cabinets. There is absolutely no way that I will not be heard. And that is by design, because much of the time that I've been playing kind of for the past couple of months, this year, I'm kind of like I'm my roadie, I'm my guitar tech, I'm the player, and I'm the one that's going to fix it if there's any fixing to be done. And one of the lessons that I learned was I had a rehearsal, and I had a There you go. You can actually see them right there. So that is the 112 Recto, and that's the mini Recto slant. And I brought those to rehearsal. They sounded great in rehearsal with drums and bass, Angeline and a drummer that we played with. But I got to the venue, and I was kind of like, oh, between the volume of the drums and being kind of right next to them instead of across from them, and the length of the venue, I'm like, I could tell my guitar just disappeared. It wasn't reaching there. I'm like, the next time I played that venue, I was like, okay, I brought both 412 cabinets, and I was like, lesson learned, and that's all of this, right? We're always kind of learning stuff. Lewis, so for the ease of dialing in, the Mark 7, I love that amp. I played the baked potato, and had one of the best gigs of my life. And that, you go to Los Angeles, if you're going to play the baked potato, kind of like all the guys play there, and gals, excuse me. So the Mark 7 had arrived just before that show, and it was great. It's such a great amplifier. Everything I love about it. I think I also used that. I sat in with Taj Farrant at his show after the NAMM show last year, and it just was awesome, right? It just does all the things. And in terms of the cleans in particular, if you like more of a vintagey Fender thing, that's not the strength of the JP2C. No, it was designed to do that. I think I prefer the lead voice of the JP2C simply because when it comes time for shred mode, there's John, so, right? Okay, I hope that helps. Yes, lots of thoughts. Okay, all right, let's see here. Yes, let's hear some. So here's a sad and unfortunate part. I love Metallica. I saw them at the old Waldorf. Dave was still in the band. I met Kirk when he was in Exodus. You know, it's like I've been around all that. I don't really know Metallica songs, and even the interesting thing. All right, so I'm open to some comments here because I can ask this here, and I'm thinking out loud here. So feedback, welcome. And the next time I run into Kirk, I'd be very curious to ask. I don't see him very often, but from time to time, he doesn't call me on my birthday, right? So like old acquaintances. Going back and listening to, because I went back and listened to Master of Puppets yesterday because I'm like, okay, there's enough people, and and first of all, I am hearing this multiple ways. So here's some Metallica tones. One of my ideas, I can say this, I don't know what's going to happen. So, is that because I don't know those songs and I don't do the multiple downstrokes, there's a guitar player who chugs, who I'm kind of buddies with. So I'm going to reach out. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it or will want to do it, but I asked him to send me some raw DI guitar of him doing some stuff. And I'm sure, in addition to obviously his ability to play anything Pantera does, and all sorts of other stuff, my guess is Homeboy, you might frequently see him, quote unquote, having coffee with people. But see if he'll send me some raw DI and then dial in some tracks. There was actually, it's Ola, right? So there was actually at the last John Petrucci's Guitar Universe, one of the evenings was Maddie, Ola, and I talking about tone and gear. And the like my ultimate geek out moment, which was like I was in tone heaven. I got to play Ola's guitar, and then Ola dialed in tones on one of John's JP2Cs, and Maddie's just kind of there, kind of chiming in about this stuff. But it was the ultimate chug moment in my life. I could have died and gone to chug heaven right then. So so there's a little bit of good past history. So who knows? But the thing is that one of the other things we talked about, and again, now I'm going all the way down the rabbit trail. So over on the other side of the room there is a Jose modded Marshall. So I have to be very careful about kind of when, where, and how I intermingle this because of my relationship with Mesa Boogie. But, one of the things was that one of the early rigs was coming out of what I believe was the slave out on the Mark II C Plus into what I believe was the power amp return on a Jose modded Marshall. That was one of the conversation topics that came up that night as kind of the three of us were doing that thing. So all that to say, I don't really do it. And the thing is that the question that I would ask Kirk is like, okay, so you go back and listen to Master of Puppets, and then you kind of listen to Enter Sandman. The sound changed, and I'm the question I want to know is like, if you could go back and make Master of Puppets, would you use that same tone, or would you have used something different if you could go back and do that? Now, they obviously play it live, but that's different than the perspective of actually, because the interesting thing is one of the debates that's going on is there's a bunch of people like this slider. Half the room is like, yeah, and the other half of the room is like, why on earth would I pull all those great frequencies right out of there, right? So the danger is that because it's not in my wheelhouse, I'm rabbit trailing a little bit, but this is the geekery that we love. I also want to make sure I do it well, and I do it in a way that can nail it. And if I can't guarantee I'm going to do that, it's putting myself in a really stupid position. However, the last demo that I have yet to do on this video is more metallicoid. And I kind of did this little riff that's a kind of got a hint of I kind of reconfigured some of the notes from Enter Sandman. I think it's going to start with that and goes into this little Phrygian thing. And then the plan is I'm going to shred madly at the end so people can hear what the guitar does. Wheelie, wheelie, wheelie. I'm not using the wah-wah. So in any case, all that to say is that will be kind of what I try to do was listen to Master of Puppets, listen to Enter Sandman, and kind of get in a little bit of that area. But I'm not a guy that really understands this guy pulled all the way down and the presence all the way up. And that's a particular thing. And again, to my point, I don't necessarily know that if they could go back and do that today, they would necessarily do that. So it's a killer sound, don't get me wrong, but I'm kind of curious if they go back and listen, kind of go, love that. Or for listeners who started playing guitar because of Metallica, which I've run into, I've never seen any band like Metallica that more people that I've run into started playing guitar because of them, and in particular Kirk Hammett. All right, a little bit of a rabbit trail. Michael, hello. Yes, yes, yes. The crowd. We know how to have fun at these guitar camps, and there's no alcohol. Well, actually, for those guys, there's sometimes a little alcohol involved. But in any case, Joe playing the Squire. Right. No, that's exactly. The Midnight Epiphanies. I love that photo. That is very cute. By the way, Brett, I'm kind of curious. Did we meet because of Boogiedom? I'm kind of. I'm thinking that's the case. Eric, Boogie Mark series is awesome at tone shaping without EQ. So many possibilities and different sounds. Haven't played a real amplifier in a while. It's been plugins at my home studio. Miss it. So, the funny thing, I'll tell you my favorite thing about it, real amps. When the weather changes, there's nothing like a tube amp heater. There's stairs that lead down into this room, and you can always tell when there's a tube amp in the room. It's one of my favorite things. You can literally feel the tube amp warmth. I know that sounds really kind of silly, but well, there it is. All right. Hello, Melissa Doppler. Yes, it is Boogie Madness, and we're just getting started. So this is the other thing about this that is really interesting. There is, and I wanted to kind of, oh, you guys are a chatty bunch. Look at all of this. Holy cow. All right, I'm trying to catch up. Oh, now hang on a second. Reunited, and it feels so good. So Steve is the guy that sold me this amp. Thank you very much. Great to see you. I just need to jump down there for a quick second. Let me just get back up here, and then I'll attempt to not totally rabbit trail as I attempt to get through these answers here. And here's the thing: is that I'm not a tube amp snob, and there are times that going virtual really, really matters. And I think, arguably, one of the things, there was a post on the Boogie board where somebody was talking about using the Badlander and using Cab Clone IR that's built into it. And as a kind of what I presume they sounded like a rock/metal band, they're doing an in-ear only tour in Canada. So we're getting to a place where knowing modeling gear or being able to kind of get inside, the box in some way, shape, or form, is going to become a chop that people are just going to need to own. We're there. Oh, look at you. Okay, well, which are you using an extra... You're using a different EQ. What EQ are you using in the loop? Yeah. All right. So, this is really the interesting thing, Charles, and again, picking up where I was 20 minutes ago, is that, yeah, it sounds great in the room, doesn't always sound great in the track, and what sounds great in the track doesn't always sound great in the room. It's really, that's hard to swallow. It doesn't seem, you get it. There's all this other stuff. There's masking. The other thing is that while we love junk, your engineer high pass filter at 100 hertz out of there, out of the way of the bass. And the funny thing is my buddy Brooks, my JP2C at one of the gigs, I had that the 80 like that. Now, one of the things for those of you that spend any time in the studio, they usually say, oh, there's no set rules and blah blah. For me, the frequency that I always zero in on the bass is 80 hertz. because if you just want to make the bass kind of like we talked about that push-pull function on the JP2C presence control, if you want the bass to kind of appear, 80 hertz is about the perfect frequency for a 4-string bass, and actually really good for 5-string as well. But that's kind of, for me, the magic frequency. Like, oh, there it is, and so the point being, just being able to find that spot where it makes things get there. Yes, right? So, Mike, you were an early guy in the JPTC. I take it you're still loving that amp. Brent, good morning. A pleasure. Oh, look at you. I know that guitar. Yep. Oh, there we go. Still challenging to dial in the distortion, but clean channels amazing. All right. So, okay. One of the great things about, I actually have my studio clean again, which means I'm getting ready to start creating a bunch of content. But note to self is that, even if it's just like, hey, this is how I dial in the JP2C and this is why, just like I'm going to do for the Mark II C+. Note to self, I can't promise it's going to happen in a short period of time, but note taken. Oh! Hold on, I think I can drag and drop that over here. Hang on a second. There we go. There we go. My Metallica tone is as follows. Volume 1 and 8, again, between 7 and 8. There it is. Treble, 7.5. Mid, 3. Bass, 1. So basically, this is the other thing about these amps, is that you actually have to know to turn the bass pretty much all the way off. Or at 1. You actually have it at 1. And I take it that is... No, 1 is 0. No. 1... Sorry. 1 is 1. Okay. Classic V 6600 is slightly lower than 2200. Okay, nice. Where is your present set? That's what I want to know. That is kind of, there we go. It's just great, right? And 7 strings. Bobby Valdez. Is that scooped at 1K? So the crazy thing about the way these guys work, great to see you, my friend, by the way, is that they just kind of got all of these frequencies right. So, hang on. I don't know. It's not like I purposely went for 1K. I will tell you that one of the things for me about dipping the 720, right? 750, excuse me, all the way down, and then cranking up the presence is 3.5K. Between 2.5K and 3.5K is where a bunch of the world kind of goes, whoa, no thank you. And the other half is like, metal, so it's a very funny thing. And unless you really know how to play it there, you got it. It's a particular thing. There we go, Jerry. I love you dearly. That is a very cute photo. I love you. You know that. Still planning on buying the Mark VII. Love the cab clone feature. No. 1, 2, 3, 4 amps in the room. Once you get hooked, there's a second cab clone IR floating around there. Cab clone IR is just, it's a, and the funny thing is, for the video series that we did with the JP2C 112 combo, that was just the original cab clone, and I got some, what I felt were great tones just using that. You just need to know to EQ it, listening to it with the cabinet off. But I was really happy. Really, it's just a sensational amp. Kevin, you're too kind. Look at that photo. I love it. Jay Kirkland, I saw you in there before, but I just kind of was trying to make my way down. Great to see you, my friend. I love it. Come on. Reamping tracks, come on. I can't promise that I'll use them. Please. That would be great, Charles. That would be great. Thank you. Much appreciated. Thank you. Oh, and so then there's Andy Timmons, right? So here's the nuance of this, because this is another side conversation. Again, the Eddie Van Halen sounding like, um, uh, so Charles, there's some nuances. So let me socially not be awkward here. Um, if I use any of the Metallica stuff, because there's a relationship with Mesa Boogie, it gets a little strange if I'm not careful. Not that there's anything strange, but if I'm not careful, it can get strange. So I want to be that. That was kind of my point. So please understand that. Thank you. Really, really appreciate that. All right, hold on. There we go. 750. 3/4 of the way, maybe even less. Thank you. Maybe even halfway. So the funny thing is, I love that photo. So I've got, you can't see it, I've got my dime wah down here, and that thing has a boost in it. So I bet you've got the dime wah, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, that is the wah to have. And also, you can't see it, but listen. There you go. So the Dunlop folks were kind enough to customize my dime wah, and I think they'll do it for you. But it's spring-loaded, such that when you take your foot off the wah, and you know how it is, I'm sure you've had this happen, you're in a gig and the drummer's just banging away on the cymbals, and you step on the wah and like, I think it's working. And so the great thing about this guy is it's just you step into it and it's like the bad horsey. It's just on. And yes, and that, so the presence and the treble and the presence on these amps has a lot to do with the gain. It's a really very, traditionally you think about the controls on an amp, and traditionally they don't interact with the gain structure in the way they do. I'm going to leave that there. How about that? Hans, what's going on? What's the main difference in the setting between Metallica and the sound of the Petrucci sound? That is a great question. So let me see if I can do this in a really interesting way. It's a great question. On the last jam on this video that I'm going to do, I'm playing the Majesty. I got to pull this guitar out. My friends at Ernie Ball have been really good to me. Hang on a second. Oh, you know what? Hang on. Hang on a second. Let's be smart. There must be a music stand that I can pilfer. All right. Okay. Extra careful with loaner guitars. Okay. Now, here we go. So, I can kind of demonstrate what that is. So, the thing about these guitars and these amps is pretty much what I love about this is that you kind of can't go wrong, especially on the crunch and lead tones, because John's been playing basically Mark II C pluses for so long, and essentially what the JP2C is, in case you didn't know, is a Mark II C plus, where a bunch of the push-pull and settings have been preset such that the amp just kind of behaves like you knew this thing inside and out and knew how to dial in those tones. And for that reason, it's just perfect for that. And again, I kind of had things dialed in for that, but this should be close enough. I'm going to keep the graphic EQ in, and I'm going to mute the mic and hopefully remember to unmute it. Now I have to figure out what I'm going to play. Okay, I got it. Now, this is not going to be the bestest lead tone ever because I'm just kind of going from what was really kind of set for grunge, but let's go to work. I could indulge myself further, but for the sake of conversation, there is very clearly John Petrucci loves Metallica. You can hear so much of that inside Dream Theater sound, and just the Mesa Boogie platform is just perfect for that. So the great thing is this guitar, everything about this guitar sonically was designed for that. Like if somebody said, what's the best guitar you could get from one of these amps? If heavy's your thing, this is it. These pickups, just everything about it. It's just, and look, like, talk about bling. Holy cow. And by the way, I think headstock tuners are the stupidest looking thing, most useful thing in the world. Totally useful. In any case, I mean, it's, holy cow. So the tightness of the sound, some guitars, can be floppy and others can just be bright. This is just tight, and that's a great question. So with Metallica, there's more of a scooped sound, but again, if you kind of listen to Enter Sandman, there was a certain point where Metallica's guitar tone kind of went, oh, and it just became a more refined sound where it's not as scooped, it's not as present on the top end. And you know, this is kind of my point that I started to say before. I wonder if, you know, the Metallica guys kind of go, if we could make those records now, would they have tamed down the high end a little bit? I'm not saying it's a bad tone. I'm saying it's an iconic guitar sound, but I wonder if they would have changed a little bit of that, and if so, what they would have changed. That said, those albums they have such a deep connection to people. You can't separate the emotional connection and the sonic sound. So that sound for people's like, that's why I started playing guitar, right? So, you know, there is so much power in the midst of all of that. It's just kind of, it's like very few people have ever influenced so many people in the guitar kingdom the way that Metallica has. I mean, just really, you know, pretty much anybody that kind of even attempts to kind of chug a little bit, it's like, you know, Metallica stamp goes on your passport. All right. I hope I answered that remotely intelligently. Yeah, Mike, what a pleasure. Thankfully, that's where we met. What the funny thing is that the clean. I'm going to play this one again. Repeats. I apologize to anybody that heard it before. Here we go. The mid range is all. So as yesterday at 1:30 in the morning, I came down here and I was like, okay, let's make this happen. Let's figure this out. And so I just took everything, turned it all the way off, and started turning stuff up. And then kind of one of the things that happened, like, all right, I don't know, let's turn the mid range all the way up. And I was like, well, I was like this. Here we go. So, you know, as a demo person, quite often trying to make that sort of thing happen, there's a thing. I'm gonna, in just a second, I'm gonna replay just a little bit. I want you to listen to it. I call it the pick dancing on the strings. So it's this. And to get that to happen, turn the delay off. Oh no. Uh, I'm gonna regret doing this, I think. But you only live once, huh? No, I've got it set for this demo I gotta do. Oh, let me mute this real quick. Little sound right there. I got carried away. I knew that would happen. It's kind of the sound of the pick dancing on the strings. And normally, you're having to be careful about where you hit too hard or too soft, because to get that to happen, if you hit really hard, the presence on it just kind of goes from sounding nice and pretty to really pokey. So the sound of the pick on the strings, and kind of doing that little dance, it's really hard to get. Like that nuance of hearing all that stuff without it being like a pick in your ear, really kind of like, wow, and literally the mid range is all the way up on all the way up. And I was like, how is that possible? Really, but okay. I digress. It is very romantic. It's just kind of like it's like with. I want to be careful because there may be some women watching this, but the equivalent for some men and some women is a woman with a bath and the candles and the little petals kind of out, that kind of thing for my male and female amp counterparts. It's like settling into a warm tube amp, cozying up, cranking up the volume. Yeah. All right. I don't take much encouragement. Oh, Steve, you are the best, man. Thank you so much. Really, really, really appreciate you. There we go. Okay, thank you very much. So that's the dime EQ for those of you who don't speak dime bag rig. White one, I take it. I guess that, yeah. There's a newer one, but I don't know if it's the 10 band. I cut at 95 hertz just to get a little bump on the palm mutes. Okay, good. Good. All right, so hang on. Just in case you're on a mobile device, I'm going to read this. Mike to Charles, does dumping the 1.2 kilohertz K help with the nasally sound that I find myself finding on the JP2C when I'm dialing in distortion tones? Mike, I will send you a photo of my settings, and you can start there. You should do fine. And that will be a start. But in any case, the other thing is to sometimes, just in case you don't know to do this. By the way, I can't pull it off the board there. The best device you can ever get, besides a computer and a reamp box is a looper, and play a part where if you got something that you're like, when I play this at this spot, kind of like what I was alluding to. And again, that's one of the nice things about the Class A thing. Some of the things that can be pokey about a Strat, the Class A just it softens them up. It breaks up sooner. It's not as stiff. But a looper is a great device because then you just play something into it, and you just kind of go, oh, okay. It's really hard to kind of go wheelie wheelie wheelie, boom, wheelie wheelie, and kind of have that juxtaposition. The other thing that happens if you're not careful is you get really excited about something, and then you come back, and this is what I've learned doing demos as of late. I'm getting better about it, but there'll be something because of the volume of the room and the energy of it. I am so excited. I think it's the greatest thing ever. And I come back the next day, and I'm like, what was I thinking? So the excitement is great in the moment, but sometimes you kind of go back and listen to it, and you're like, that's the other reason it's really good to record stuff, if you possibly can. Yeah, no, what a great thing. Hello, Brad. Also a fellow boogie fanatic. Great to see you, my friend. Good morning. Love that photo. All right, good. One is one. One is one, Doug. Yeah. I was like, is one right? It's like, fail. A presence in anywhere between 3 and 7, depending on the speaker mic pre-control. All right, so all this is true until you start sticking one of those things in front of the amplifier, and then all bets are off. And this is kind of what I was talking about the pokiness of the pick and all that stuff. There they are. All right, you're going to go in the stand. And I'm going to move this table here so that nothing weird happens. And I'm going to, by the way, always, especially with a loaner guitar, tighten this little guy here. Make sure that nothing bad is going to happen. If it's not mine, I am not messing around. All right, hang on a second. Let me get my friend, Mr. Microphone. Say hello to my little friends. So these guys, you would think, so what you're looking at here is a combination of a Royer 121 and a Shure SM57. I forget the name of the clip name that they came up with, but what the neat thing is that these guys are set up in such a way that as you kind of, once you kind of know to get your 57 right around to that ring right there in the clip, they'll be time aligned in terms of phase. I should say, sorry, phase time aligned. So if you get one further, closer and one further, what will happen is you will get phasing because they're not hearing the frequency at the same time. Basically, a frequency goes up and it goes down. And anytime you've got two things, let's see if I can do it like, there you go. So if they're offset, as it's going like that, that offset causes cancellation in the frequency. Generally speaking, it's a bad thing. So this aligns these. So this is generally one of the ways that you can get relatively close to what you're hearing in the room when you're directly in front of the cabinet, which is what most guitar players don't do, so they don't actually know what their sound sounds like. Sorry. But you'll find that the transients, those pick attacks, can really jump out. And so what Charles very wisely pointed out is sometimes you have to just kind of, and it sounds great in the room until you put the mic in front of it and you're like, microphone just hears things very differently. And it's one of the great things about Cab Clone IR. It's like kind of takes a bunch of that guesswork out of it. But there are times that people really, so we also got to talk about the chirp. It's a serious looking photo. I like that. So the interesting thing is that when you play in a band like Dream Theater, the pick bag. Now this place is actually almost completely clean, but the pick bag has again. No, I had you out. Where's the pick bag? All right, pick bag's gone. So the thing about traditional Tortex pick compared to an old school non-Tortex kind of what we used to call tortoiseshell, even though really wasn't tortoiseshell for the majority of the time that I've been alive. But this guy has a lot more give, and it has. Let's see if I can do this. That. All right, they have different pitches to them, but also you can actually. You're not going to really hear this very well. I wonder. Chances are this one you could hear a slight difference in the quote unquote transient, that moment, that attack where it starts making noise there. The stiffer the pick, the more the transient is going to be. John uses those not only a jazz, but one that is kind of got kind of a clearish. Well, he's got a couple of different ones, but one of the ones that I've seen is the kind of clear ones that kind of have a chirpy sound in them. So the very thing that John, in many ways, uses to enunciate his guitar over all that stuff, if you're playing on your own, is one of the things that you're kind of contending with. I'm not saying that the amp sounds chirpy because I don't have that issue with that amp. However, oh, so another one of these. Holy cow! So I keep hearing about it. All right, Charles. So are those dope or what? Okay, I'm curious. Okay, so. The other thing that we haven't talked about, and I don't know of any guitar players who do this, but this was in desperation, one of my early recording experiences at the old teaching studio. I had a little recording studio there that I kind of put together with an 8-track reel-to-reel. If you ever think about buying one, don't. Didn't think so. But basically, most of us have, at some point, we put the 57 up, and all of a sudden we're like, holy cow. So what I did was I kind of, in desperation, went, I'm going to create a sidechain compression. And what you're able to do, and this is a great hack for you, my friend, so listen up, Mike. You can basically put a compressor in the loop to try. And what you do is, as I recall, you peak on the, and it goes one way or the other, so it's been a couple of decades, but whatever frequency you boost, the compressor recognizes that frequency when you put it in a side chain. Basically, like, the compressor has its own little effects loop, and when it hears that frequency, it cuts it. The louder it hears it, the more it cuts it. So, but that, I'm surprised somebody hasn't made a sidechain compression unit for an effects loop, because that really would allow you to just kind of go, hey, this is, and because the neat thing about it is it's, as it gets louder, it just kind of has a dynamic, a little bit of squish. So it's not like you're totally cutting it out. It's just gently taming it out. It worked really, really well. And Jay, it was kind of what you said there that reminded me of that, because I was like, okay, well, let me find, you sweep the faders on the graphic EQ, and until you kind of get to them, oh, that's where the was. It was around 160. As I recall, somewhere between 160 and 300, maybe in the 300. It's been a long time. But you just find it like, okay. And I don't remember whether I cut, not only left them at 0, but actually cut all the faders such that it didn't do anything on the other ones, and then boosted the one that I wanted to sidechain. I think that's the way I did it, or was, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I did. Ooh, thank you, Charles. Much appreciated. So that's one of the challenges, is that I've got one guitar here that's got active pickups. I'm gonna Zach's wah. Does that also have the boost on it? It's not here. It's I have the Zach wah. Not that I've ever played through it. That's bad. Yeah, no. So the dime wah, just awesome. Just awesome. Hans. All right. Isn't that guitar just lovely? Awesome. All right, looks like the Badlander cab Come on. I've got a mouse over that's kind of stuck there. Hang on, let me click there. There we go. All right, looks like the Badlander has a cab clone built in. Yes, it does. I'm still trying to figure out how to get a room sound when recording, room sound when direct recording. You know, I find that most of the time, and this is a personal thing, because if you think about Stevie Ray, you can hear some room sound in his guitar. So obviously, you know, but with certain styles of music, you don't necessarily want that stuff in there. I don't miss the sound of the mic picking up the room at all, at all. Riffs machine. I personally think that the 2C Plus is the most blendable amp out there. My live rig right now is a Fryette modded SLO, Stevie Fryette, okay, and a JP2C with a TC Electronic Mimic pedal. By the way, for those of you using the Mimic or those of you who are going to use the Mimic, love that. Mimic wants to be, and I'm pretty sure this is where you're using it, in the front end of the amp. So I learned this from Maddie, is that it wants to hear the transient of your pick attack. So Mike Rand, let's say you got a second JP2C. You want to put the Mimic in, because in the first place I thought, oh, I'll put it in the effects loop and use it to split the amps. And Maddie was like, no. It wants to hear the transient of the pick attack, not the transient of the pick attack through the circuitry of the amplifier. That's a nuanced thing, but a really important one. Was like, oh, okay. So I thought that was two Mesa 412 cabinets with V30s. Come on. No problems being heard there. Metallica's stamp goes on your passport. Come on. So, and this is the thing. And again, for those of you on your mobile device, I'm going to read this. Oh yeah, I can't tell you how crazy it was to get the Metallica sound and get hit with the high of nostalgia and bitter disappointment all at the same time. You know, it's you know, the great thing about these bands, you know, Metallica, you know, literally I saw that old Waldorf show. The real Metallica fans will know about that show. It was, you know, it was really interesting because Dave was fronting the band then. And, you know, it's like, all right, we're going to do a slow one. You know, it's like, holy cow. It's crazy. And yes, Andy Timmons really just... so Andy uses a combination of things, and he's not technically a boogie artist now. So he does use the Lone Star still, and he also uses some Sur stuff. And, you know, first of all, his hands are amazing, but his tone... his sound design is second to none. It's just an amazing guitar sound, an amazing player, and pretty much you could plug him in anything and he would sound amazing. All right, that's exactly what it is. Although technically the Mimic is not in John's current live rig, but yes, and it imitates that sound of double tracking. It's actually really cool. All right, good. So the funny thing is, and I hopefully I can do this without getting myself into trouble. At one of the guitar camps, you know, one of John's camps, you know, they're all the greatest hits of all the great young players, and they're playing and they sound great through the PA with the modelers. All of a sudden, then John comes out, and the sound of his amps, and I kind of went, that's why. Now, I will say one of the best guitar sounds I've ever heard at the Coliseum was Def Leppard, and they're both using fractals, and it just like didn't miss the amps there, because the neat thing is you can dial them in a way that, you know, first of all, they don't have any lack of budget, so they've got, you know, the entire production food chain, if you will, no lack of resource there, but it was really interesting hearing, you know, folks play that you could tell had mastered the sound in the studio, but when it came to fill in what the blank whatever PA was there, not any fault of the person mixing, you were subjected to the make, the model, the build, the headroom, all of that stuff on the PA, where John's just coming out of those cabinets, and you were just like, literally the moment he walked out after, or there was a jam thing happening or something, I was like, whoa. Like that it was such an obvious thing, because John's tone's hitting you in the chest like that. And you're like, oh, holy cow! And John plays loud. Last guitar camp, he was really loud. Yeah, it's You know, the funny thing is, I used it for a while, and then I kind of stopped. I need to kind of revisit that. Might sell you mine. All right. Okay. Rupert Neve, channel prees. You got some serious gear there. And yes, that there are so many different combinations. It's crazy. Curtis Smith. Great to see you. Awesome. Say hello to Dan. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Give him my best. So this is the whole thing about the SM57. This guy, and hopefully I'm not rabbit trailing too much here, but let's just do this. So this is the Shure SM57. And basically what you want to do is, let's just say that this guy right here is the dust cap in the center of your speaker. And ideally, you're aiming for the edge of the dust cap, about an inch. Oh, hold on. Can I do this? Hey, the power video. Let's see if I can do this. There we go. So we're looking at this guy. So say your speaker is here. Oh, I'm not doing a very good job here. All right, so let's see if I can do this. It's the edge of the 57 right there. I'm just blowing it. Let's just say that this is the top of this guy right here. You kind of want it right at the edge of the dust cap, and basically where that is, you point the 57 right at that spot. And if it's still too bright, you move it further towards the outside of the speaker, and if it's not bright enough, you move it towards the center. Ideally, the 57 you want about an inch to a half inch from the grill. If you move it any closer than that, good things happen, but it's called proximity effect. And basically, there's a bass buildup, and it's one of the great things you can do if you've got a smaller amp. You want to make it sound bigger and more aggressive in a good way. You utilize that proximity to do that. 414, 421, and a 57. There, you know, the funny thing is that I've never really, and I need to spend more time with it. I've never really loved the sound of a 421 on guitar. I prefer the Royer personally, but I just need to spend more time. And I do have a 414 around here that I have yet to use. It's a great mic. Hello, Steve. Great to see you, my friend. Pleasure. All right. All right. Hang on a second. Let me scroll down here. Charles, you got too much great stuff, so I need to jump down here. Thank you. Don't stop chatting. I can't hit it all. Rick, hello, my friend. Great to see you. You know what? All right, it is time. Hold on. It is time, real quick, to raise them up. Let me know what it is that you're drinking and where it is that you're drinking it. All right. Get back into this chat here, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about this ear training in a minute. What's going on, Song? Love that photo. I'm a legend in my own mind. Don't forget that. I'm here all night. There we go. Good. So did the interesting thing is my break anything yet. This is my little touring little boogie amp, and what I love about this is that, first of all, it has Mark II C+ mode in it, no surprise. But I put this in my carry-on and bring it onto the plane, wrap it in bubble pack just in case it needs to get gate checked, but it doesn't. And then we did this little Southland tour, Larry Mitchell and myself, and it was the Power Stage 700, and then thinking about doing something kind of fun. Sonny, what's going on, my man? In any case, that, and then I brought the FM9, and the VP4 is finally on its way to me. Thank you. But this little rig just is great, and with 700 watts, And this thing's loud on its own, just crazy loud. But that, you know, that whole thing. All right, just do it. Hang on a second. Now, all right, hang on a second. I need to kind of give me a moment here. I hope the audio is going to route properly. It should. I don't like getting into trouble. This is my kind of trouble. All right. So this is, because I've been wanting to share this. So let's see. Let's see if I can do this without, and I think the audio, first of all, Norman, there we go. Cheers. Paul, there we go. Come on. It'll put hair on your chest. That's not a good thing if you're a female or you know, I'll just move on. Here we go. Come on. Chris, thank you very much. You're awesome. All right. Let's see if I can do this without breaking anything. I'll mute my mic in a moment. Hopefully remember to unmute it. All right, so I want to be going to Google Chrome. Why is it? Oh, there we go. All right, here we go. Let's see here. All right. I'm not unmuted yet. So when I do this, I'm hopefully... I tell you what. I'm going to play this, mute the mic. Let me know if you can hear... I'm going to go to the end here real quick. Let me know if you can hear this. Sorry, could you hear that? Let me know. All right, thank you, Chris. All right, here we go. Oh, this is so much fun. I'm gonna like a wannabe MTV VJ or something. This video was shot, by the way, at my buddy Earl's place. That was we went there, Larry and I, on that little tour that we did. So in any case, here we go.
When I was just a boy, my mama said, son, there's more to life than just the girls and fun. Gotta pay your dues like your daddy did. It put him in the grave, but that's the way it is.
I got a better idea. I'm seeing it do that little strange little frame thing. Let me, it's because I'm playing YouTube here. Oh, I lost 3 people. Didn't want to hear that. All right. Hang on a second. Let me find that file. I'm going to duplicate this. Give me a quick moment. I'm going to take you. I'm going to duplicate you. There we go. Okay. So let me get to, let's get over here. Come on. All right, we're there. Okay, good. And we're here. And we're going to find that file. Give me a moment. All right, let's do this right. I'm really excited to share this. So I got this video back this week. It's for a song called Slave to the Grind. And really excited to just kind of have this. All right. All right, let's see if I can just get to that window. From inside here. And again, I hadn't initially planned on doing this, but you know what? No, I don't want you. I want... What if I go to Finder? What's Finder going to give me? That's what Finder's going to give me. All right, here we go. Let's give it a shot.
When I was just a boy, my mama said, son, there's more to life than just the girls and fun. Gotta pay your dues like your daddy did. It put him in the grave, but that's the way it is. Wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. The mean old boss, well, he ain't no friend. Watching my life going down the drain. This job of mine is like a ball and chain. I hate the job, I hate the pay. Run myself a ragged till my dying day. What's the point in caring? What's the use in trying? 'Cause at the end of the day, I'm just a slave to the grind. Well, I work my fingers to the bone and my body's a wreck. Living hand to mouth and check to check. Like my daddy said on his dying day, I got one boot on the other foot's in the grave. I wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. The mean old boss, well, he ain't no friend. Watching my life going down the drain. This job of mine is like a ball and chain. I hate the job, I hate the pay. Run myself a ragged till my dying day. What's the point in caring? What's the use in trying? 'Cause at the end of the day, I'm just a slave to the grind.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please check the number and try your call again.
Wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. The mean old boss, well, he ain't no friend. Watching my life going down the drain. This job of mine is like a ball and chain. I hate the job, I hate the pay. Run myself a ragged till my dying day. What's the point in caring? What's the use in trying? 'Cause at the end of the day, I'm just a slave to the grind.
All right, let's see if we can get back to our previously scheduled program. Hang on, I can do this. That's what we're looking for right there. Hey. All right, there we go. Home. Well, thank you for indulging me. That's, I wanted, here's the thing, we're still a little while away from being able to kind of start dropping these videos. Thank you very much for the kind words, everybody. So thank you. Thank you. All right. Too many to just easily drop in. So for the sake of time, thank you. Really appreciate it. No, that's really, so I've been kind of, Jimmy Ward, what's going on? Great to see you. All right. First of all, thank you. Yes. All right. So, gosh darn. Normally I remember who I play six string is. But and I remember, but I've forgotten your first name. Gosh darn it. My apologies, but hey, it happens. So first of all, thank you. No, really exciting. We got a couple little edits we got to make on the video. That in theory is going to be the first single, and so really, I'm very excited about that. And the neat thing is that I wanted to share a little bit. But Melissa's like, wait, Ron, that's it, Ron Martin. There, that's not the final mix. I'm going to probably redo just about all my guitars except for the middle solo is going to stay. But I'm just going to kind of get in and just analyze that. I'm basically taking the second half of December off to finish up on the vocal stuff, and some of the instrumental stuff, so we can start pushing these singles out the door. But really, I've been excited to kind of share this with some folks. It's like, I don't know, we're just going to go for it. All right, awesome. Now, one of the things that we talked about on Theory Geek Thursday was the idea, and again, this was really kind of came out of one of Eric's lessons, which is like, how do we kind of be able to take? I will tune, but I'm going to turn the delay off. Come on, there we go. Thank you. The funny thing is that in all honesty, I'm not a blue collar worker. I have the privilege of being able to play guitar and do that. However, every so often I think about all the really crappy jobs that I had. Selling newspapers over the phone, being a janitor at a Nation's Giant Hamburger. Basically, I worked in a music store, a local music store, during the day. I'd go to sleep and I'd get up at 2 in the morning so I could go clean the Nation's Giant Hamburger. And I got to tell you, if you've ever been a janitor at a hamburger place that has a fryer and a grill, there's nothing like those big rubber, I don't know what you call them, but the cook stands on them. But you have to take them out into the back alley, and then you have this scalding hot water that you basically rinse the grease out of that, and it sprays back in your face, and it gets all over you. That was a job that I very clearly remember. So in any case, I have had some blue collar moments and some jobs and experiences that out in the workforce that weren't. It was a hard job. Hold on a second. I've got a message coming in from the wife, so I need to just... Okay. No, there you go. All right. Wife reminding me that I've got some work that I need to do. And so I'm going to keep that in mind. Very kind. And yeah, Janet, it paid okay. But, at that point I was saving money. It was before I went down to GIT. I was like 19. I was a kid. And it was one of those experiences that I wouldn't undo it, actually. But it was a thing. Actually, it was at the time I actually did well enough that it was worth it. Holy cow. Okay. Where did that? I missed something here. So I'm a late bloomer too. So there you go. And you know what, Charles, I could not agree with you more. The experience of kind of doing, first of all, it allows you to feel a level of connection with people. I was I grew up in a suburb, right? I didn't grow up. I had opportunities, but being able to, I ended up going to Berkeley High School, and I ended up going to working at some jobs that really kind of allowed me to not have kind of a barrier between other people's existence, which was really important. And it was a vital part. So I couldn't agree with you more. And there we go. Come on. I work at a golf course and play music at night. Rinse and repeat. Norman Lee Smith. It's live on Spotify and Apple Music. Been woodshedding since forever. I'm ready to play out some. Come on. Go for it, my man. And good. All right. Hang on a second. I'll make a note here. Norman Lee Smith. There we go. Norman Lee Smith. Look forward to giving you a whirl, my friend. All right. Yes, woodshedding since forever. I was a master technician at a dealership for 15 years, paid the blue-collar dues. So that, and you know, the neat thing is that Slave to the Grind. I mean, it's just everybody. It wasn't actually a guy that I worked for when I was in Los Angeles. You know, Los Angeles. And the other thing is that it's not just the job. When it's a bad kind of working class job, quote unquote, it's the time in your life that sometimes can be really crappy. And it was really like I was living with a girlfriend. We broke up. I didn't have any students because I came to LA, and Los Angeles is like, it's a hard place to be a teacher. So I was barely getting by. And so I went for this interview, and this douchebag, you know, I didn't have, I don't think I had a dress shirt or something. I didn't have one. And he's like, you came for an interview without a tie and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, really? You know, and you know, in Los Angeles, there's all sorts of kind of little industries kind of in kind of rows of kind of 2-story buildings, you know, kind of small business, the equivalent before business parks existed, kind of like that. And I was just like, it's not like I'm applying for a job, you know, in American Express, you know, at the 25th floor. He was just such a jerk. And I just remember that guy, and I'm like, made me feel so small. And I was like, you know, and so, you know, Slave to the Grind is just like, that's the sort of dude that you work for, and you're just like, man. In any case, the experience of that type of, and then I was selling newspapers on the phone. I mean, it was just a crappy time. So that those job experiences, you know, just really the emotion of that. And that's what's great about a song is you can kind of channel all that stuff. You know, Slave to the Grind is like, man, it was a grind. It was hard. It was a bad time. But, you know, the neat thing is the music is cool. All right. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And Chris, you're not just a teacher. You're an award-winning teacher. So there's that. All right. I'm going to need to get out of here in just a second because I got to get to work. So here's the thing. Per Eric Stevie Ray Vaughan's lesson, the idea is that, you know, first of all, I would encourage you to just kind of begin to recognize the sound, at the very least, of the minor pentatonic. And literally kind of begin to go 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1, 1, flat 7, 5, 4, flat 3, 1. Let's see if I can do this. 1, 4, flat 3, 5, 4, flat 7, 4, flat 4, 4, flat 7, 5, 1. And just begin to hear the different intervals, because when we hear a song, quite often we hear an interval that's not a neighbor note. When we play it, we have a tendency to play neighbor notes because we're pattern players. But the thing is that if you endeavor to kind of begin to move outside that box, so that's my Metallica riff. So the idea of going 1, 1, flat 7, flat 5, flat 3, flat 5, 4, flat 3, 1, you begin to not just play a fingering, but you begin to know what the notes are. And when you're out somewhere, you can begin to go, oh, that's, you know, even if it's not with the intent of bringing it back to the instrument, to kind of go, the act of hearing something and knowing what that interval is relationally means that even if it's not something you would want to bring back to the guitar, it's preparing you that when you do hear some interval that maybe it's the same interval, but it is something that you want to bring back to the guitar, you learn to recognize these things, and then you just have that intimate way of categorizing these things. So just with the pentatonic, first of all, just straight up and down. But the other thing that I didn't put in the Theory Geek Thursday was basically going, and I hope I can kind of do this and do it right, but the idea is you take the starting note, and then you take basically a secondary pedal note, as in 1 flat 3 4, 1 flat 3 5, 1 flat 3 flat 7, 1 flat 3 1, 1 flat 3 1, 1 flat 3 flat 7, 1 flat 3 5, 1 flat 3 4, 1 flat 3, and then 1 4 flat 3 1 4 5 1 4 flat 7 1 4 octave 1 4 octave. So I should call that 1 4 flat 7 1 4 5 1 4 flat 3. That one 1 4 flat, because everything's higher, right? Then you do the same thing with the 5. 1 5 flat 3 1 5 flat 3 1 5 4 1 5 flat 7 1 5 1 1 5 1 1 5 flat 7 1 5 4 1 5 flat 3 1 flat 7 1 1 flat 7 1 1 and I guess I'm going to go to the flat 3 1 flat 7 1 1 flat 7 flat 3 1 flat 7 4 1 flat 7 5 1 flat 7 1. So, and then you flip it from the other direction. 1 flat 7 5 1 flat 7 4 1 flat 7 flat 3 1 flat 7 1 1 flat 7 1, and then flip it back around. If I did that before. 1 flat 7 1 1 flat 7 flat 3 1 flat 7 4 1 flat 7 5 1 1 5. Yeah, 1 5 flat 7 1 5 4 1 5 flat 3 1 5 1 1 5 1 1 5 flat 3 1 5 1 5. Didn't sing that very well. 1 5 1 5 flat 1 5 flat 7 1 5 4 1 5 flat 3 1 5 1 1 5 1 1 5 flat 3 1 5 4 1 5 flat 7, and then so on and so forth. That will really just kind of get you used to recognizing those things, and that connection is a really good thing. So I don't know what they call this finish, but it's flippin' gorgeous. What's going on, Dougie? Great to see you. I saw that you were out and about playing the guitar festivals. Way to go, my friend. Excellent, excellent. What is my favorite interval over a minor chord? To tell you the truth, I'd say it's probably that minor 6 right there between the 5 and the flat 3. Mr. Mayor there, right? I'm a little out of tune here. But the idea of doing that with the pentatonic is it just gets you kind of, if you will, quote unquote, limber with being able to navigate all those things. And kind of, it if anything, if you could think about ear training neuroplasticity, right? So there was, the topic of neuroplasticity, kind of learning to make your brain more flexible. And keeping, your neurons firing as you get a little bit older. The idea of being able to just kind of start doing that, you just get in the habit of going, oh, okay, 1 1 1 1 flat 7 1 1 5 1 1 4 1 1 flat 3, and so you can begin to have that sense of how things are actually functioning in the key, and it just gives you that sense of intuitiveness such that sooner than later, if there's a note that you're hearing, you know how to go to it. And, an interesting part of this, that's an interesting aside, but relative at the same time, is that it's also recognizing how certain intervals are going to splay out on the neck. One of the things I'm doing in some of these demos here, I've got that Epiphone V there tuned down to, it should be living at C sharp / drop B. So kind of like, I don't actually calculate what those note names are relative to B. Is that, the drops B, that is a guitar tuned to C sharp, but dropping the low C sharp down a whole step. But becoming aware of how the notes splay, how they're functioning numerically, not so much the note names, but kind of begin, recognizing where your flat 7s are, where your 5s are, and being able to do that. And also, though, sometimes just kind of by ear and by touch, recognizing the interval you're going for without always thinking about, all right, here's the fingering for that, because kind of all the fingering stuff is out the window when you go to do that. It's a very interesting thing. And then being able to recalibrate yourself for that, if you haven't spent a lot of time in drop D or drop B or whatever the heck it is. Technical death metal and jazz. Now, you don't hear those in the same conversation very often. And I love it. So, and here's, I love that. And that's the heartbeat of it, right? Like, how do we not play the same, and I'm not saying this about you, how do we not play the same crap over and over? And this, circling back here, Dave Morrison, am I going to see you at NAMM? Yeah, we are going to have to fix that. Speaking of photos I love and people I love. So Dave Morrison is a celebrity. He's a celebrity. And he looks like a celebrity, too. So for those of you that are studio people, and Stefano, what's going on, my man? Andor have been in a studio. Dave is the founder and genius behind isoacoustic. So chances are, like me, you've got isoacoustic stands underneath your speakers. And if you don't, and you have near-field studio monitors, you need to. So Dave and I, dear friends, we see each other but once a year, but guitar fanatic, lover, great player, but also, most importantly, one of the most important people in terms of people getting, in fact, I will say no one I know of has helped more people get better studio sound than Dave. How about that? Period. So, Charles, at the risk of, well, I tell you what, you've been such a contributor. I will share my POV on this, and I will tell you, actually, I will double Doug dare you in the spirit of the season to check out some isoacoustic stands. And here's what will, so you're a contributor here, so I really want to honor that in the same way. And so here's the thing about the Orlex pads, which I replaced with the isoacoustic stands. When you, I'll make a good analogy. If you made the analogy that an Orlex, and again, let me be clear, I'm not beating up on you, so like hopefully we're good here. But you made the analogy of putting your 412 boogie cabinet on top of, a bunch of sponge or foam. That's essentially what begins to happen. It's not just that affects, all right, cool. Just wanted to be cool here because, as you get to know people, you always want to be, people can be sensitive in ways that, sometimes you just you're not attuned to. So the thing is that the challenge is, and this is one of the interesting things about the Boogie manual, I read those, is they're talking about, hey, a lot of the time it's good to couple and place the speaker directly on the stage, the cabinet. People love that. Rick Hunolt from Exodus, or formerly of Exodus, who's a dear friend of many decades, was like, dude, you got to take the casters off your cabinets when you're playing on stage. And first of all, when I roll into a venue, the venues that I roll into, I'm the roadie, and I'm the guy that passes by the bathroom. And as I'm rolling those wheels through that little walkway that comes out of the men's room, sorry, ladies, but it's a liquid mess by the end of the night. And that carpet, every time you roll by, it's just kind of like freeze-dried pee. How about that? By the way, the next time you touch your wah-wah pedal, you'll think of me. You're like, ooh. So the point being, and don't wipe your face after you touch your wah. Do us all a favor. But the point being, you roll that thing out. The last thing I'm going to do is flip the cabinet over and pull those wheels off. I'm like, no! But the thing is, the Boogie people do like, hey, you can really feel that. But they also went on to say, like, the problem is if you've got a hot bass drum mic that's responding to reverberation through the stage, it's a problem. So this is what the isoacoustic stands do, is they decouple, and this is very important in the listening environment, your speakers from your desk. Because if your desk's getting excited, you're literally playing your desk. But even worse than that, you're getting that reflection that's coming down out of the speaker enclosure and comes back up into the speaker enclosure, creating my favorite word that I learned from Dave, and it's true, smear. And so what ends up happening is it just adds this over the top of everything that's supposed to be happening. The isoacoustic stands are everywhere because they're phenomenal. I use the Orlex stuff. The Orlex stuff was a great way to decouple your speakers from your mixing desk. It's a great vehicle, nothing wrong with it. However, there is a better solution in the marketplace, and I love the folks at Orlex. They very kindly outfitted my entire studio here. So, there are absorption and reflection. You're seeing the absorption back there. Great people taking incredible care of me. But I actually prefer the isoacoustic stands, and it's not sliding them in any way for me to say. So, Brett, hello. Good to see you, my friend. All right. All that to say, I need to finish this video. So I really want to thank you for hanging out with me today. This has been a lot of fun. I didn't get to Rick's questions. Hold on a second. Let me just take a last little moment here and, Chris's questions. Gosh darn it. I don't know why I said Rick. I guess I was looking at Rick and said Chris. So I was looking at it, yeah. Yeah, they are great. They are just phenomenal. And the guy is even better than the stand. So there's that. All right, Chris's questions. First of all, I never got back to the Mark versus the Recto. That's going to be a different day. And Charles, thank you for sending me those settings through. Please do. So the surface-borne reflection and just sound traveling, with the amount of money I will say this, with the amount of money you've invested in your signal chain, you will hopefully thank me. All right. So let's see. When singing the notes, how do you approach singing a diminished note? So the short version is this. All right. If you get used to being able to recognize, first of all, it's not like that. It's just a sound. I would encourage you actually just on an open string like that to just get used to moving up and down and developing the tactile sense of connecting your ear and your finger. So you can your finger just kind of automatically starts moving the right distance to accommodate the sound that you're hearing. And that's very different than regurgitating some shape that you played a million times. And then it's something about it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's the flat 5, which is 1, flat 3, flat 5 is your diminished triad versus 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 1, 3, sharp, sharp, 5, sharp 5, 1, 3, sharp 5. Sorry, 1, 3, sharp 5. That's an augmented triad. I'm not used to doing that. And that's the whole point is you get familiar with 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1 flat 3, 5, 1 flat 3, flat 5, 1, 3, sharp 5, sharp 5. Boy, I suck at singing that augmented triad. But the way you don't suck at doing it is you just get used to doing it. So starting off with a major scale, 1, 2, 3, Dorian 2, flat 3, Phrygian flat 2, flat 3, Lydian 2, 3, mixed Lydian 2, 3, minor 2, flat 3, Locrian flat 2, flat 3, and get used to kind of scale singing each of the modes like that will work wonders. It's a great way to start. The other question is there a setup? Generally, with a clean tone is a great place to start. That way, you're not dealing with any kind of like hum or any things to get in the way. I forgot to turn my camera back on. Hey, hello, get me back over here. Hang on. But look at that handsome guy. That's such a cute photo. All right. There we go. Rick, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Awesome. Whoa. That sucks. Sorry, that's small print. Glad to catch you. At least part of the chat. I haven't been able to since Facebook banned me in October out of nowhere without a reason, or warning. I didn't even know what I did. Frustrating. Now, the funny thing is I went to boost. There was something I was going to do. It was something, and I violated the rules of. It was like it was a photo. And I went to give them money. I'm like, hey, take my money. I'm like, they're not. Oh, no. it's like, okay, it's going to be very interesting, as this whole social media thing continues to go on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much. Really appreciate you spending your day. Saturday's a valuable time for all of us. Spend some time, again, kind of working on, if you're so inclined, being able to do this. The other thing that I would suggest doing in closing is being really conscious of 1, 3, 5, 1 flat 3 flat 5, 1 flat 3, 1 3 5, 1 flat 3 5, 1 flat 3 flat 5, 1 3 5, 1 3 5, 1 3 sharp 5. Gosh, that and again, you're learning to navigate this. Just takes a little bit of time, but it's just a little bit of practice. All right. Thanks again, Charles. Thanks for hanging out with us. Everybody, much love. I look forward to seeing you next Saturday on Doppler'S Gear Garage. God bless every single one of you. Thank you for making my day awesome. Till the next time. See you there. Thanks again.